The twin suns of Varela 9 burned low across the dust plains. Wind carried the scent of metal and smoke through the open arena. Thousands of alien eyes watched in silence as a single human walked forward. His name was Captain Trent Hayes, once a soldier of Earth's Frontier Command. Now a stranded wanderer on a world that hated his kind, he stopped in the center of the circle. The sand beneath his boots shimmered with faint blue energy. Above him, banners of the Valor Dominion waved in the heat, their crimson symbols sharp against the pale sky. Around the edge of the arena, tall guards with spears of light stood unmoving, their faces hidden behind mirrored masks. From the opposite gate stepped Commander Saria. Her armor shone like silver glass, every plate alive with a cold inner glow. Her eyes were bright blue fire, her expression calm and cruel. She looked at the human with quiet curiosity. "So, this is what they send us," she said, her voice echoing through the speakers. "A relic from a dying world." Trent said nothing. His uniform was torn, his shoulder marked with faint scars that glowed faintly under the light. He knew the crowd expected a show, not a fair fight. He had seen their kind before, proud, powerful, certain of their own superiority. Saria drew her curved blade, and it came alive with plasma light. The blade hummed softly, leaving trails of blue fire in the air. The crowd cheered her name, stamping their feet. The duel would decide whether the last human on Varela 9 would live or die. Trent reached up and pulled off his jacket, throwing it to the ground. The motion revealed a strange mark on his arm. A tattoo burned deep into his skin. It was circular, almost like a bird with wings spread wide, surrounded by lines of ancient design. The mark pulsed once, faintly red. Saria's eyes flickered toward it, and for a heartbeat she froze. The air seemed to shift. Her blade lowered an inch. Her pupils widened. The crowd noticed, whispering to one another, "What is that symbol?" One alien voice muttered from the stands. "It cannot be," said another. The Phoenix mark was destroyed with old Terra. Trent didn't understand what they meant. He just felt a dull warmth beneath his skin. His heartbeat matched the rhythm of the glow. He raised his hands into guard position. "Are we doing this or not?" he asked quietly. Saria's face tightened. Her voice came out cold but shaken. "Yes. Human, we will fight." But her steps slowed, her breath uneven. Something about that tattoo disturbed her more than she wanted to admit. The arena lights dimmed, and a voice thundered from the announcer booth. "Let the challenge begin." The plasma walls rose around them, shimmering with a hum that drowned the crowd's noise. Trent's shadow stretched long beneath the glowing barrier. He felt small, but inside, something ancient stirred. Saria moved first, lightning fast. Her blade sliced through the air toward his chest. Trent rolled aside, sand scattering around his boots. He countered with a punch, his fist meeting her armor and sending sparks across the arena. The crowd gasped at the impact. Humans weren't supposed to move that fast. Saria spun, bringing her blade around again. Trent ducked, caught her wrist, twisted, and felt a surge of heat through his arm. The tattoo flared bright red. A low vibration filled the air, like a deep hum from somewhere inside the planet. Saria cried out, stumbling back. Her sword's light flickered, and the plasma blade shut off. "What are you?" she whispered. Her voice was no longer mocking. It was filled with something closer to fear. Trent looked down at his arm. The mark was glowing like molten metal. He could feel energy spreading through his veins. He took a step forward, and the sand under his boots turned black from the heat. "I don't know," he said, his voice quiet but heavy. "Maybe you tell me, for the first time." Saria hesitated. Her fingers tightened on her weapon, but she did not raise it. All around the arena, the Valor nobles rose from their seats, murmuring in shock. Even the guards at the gates took a step back, their spears dimming. The tattoo on Trent's arm pulsed again, stronger now. A faint outline of wings appeared across his back in red light. The crowd gasped. Saria's breathing grew faster, her face pale. "That mark," she said, almost whispering. "It belongs to the flame that burned the sky." Trent didn't understand, but the words echoed in his mind like thunder. Something deep within him responded. A voice not his own whispered, "Awaken." The arena lights flickered. Every plasma torch round the ring dimmed for a second. Then silence, the wind died, the crowd held its breath. Saria's sword hand trembled as she looked at him. The man she had called a relic was glowing like a living weapon. Trent looked around the silent arena. The dust hung still in the air. He saw confusion, fear, and awe on every alien face. He raised his arm slowly, watching the red light fade and pulse again, somewhere in his memory. He remembered the scientists back on Earth whispering about a project, Project Phoenix. He thought it was a myth, a story from the old wars. But now, standing here, he realized it wasn't. Saria lowered her sword completely. Her voice came out soft. "Broken, I will not kill you, human," she said. "Not when the old fire has chosen you." Trent took a breath. He didn't know what any of it meant. But one thing was clear. The duel was no longer about survival. It was the beginning of something far larger, as the crowd erupted in chaos. Trent's mark flickered once more. He stared at it in silence. A strange feeling washed over him. Not fear, not pride, but recognition. Whatever he had become, it wasn't just human anymore. And as the arena burned red with light, both warriors understood one truth. This duel would change the fate of worlds. The arena was silent. No one dared move. Dust floated in the air like slow falling ash, glowing red from the light of the human's arm. Commander Saria stood frozen, her blade dimmed, her heartbeat loud in her ears. Across from her, Captain Trent Hayes looked just as shocked, his breathing ragged, his eyes wide with disbelief. The mark on his arm pulsed brighter, lines of glowing energy crawling up his neck. He clenched his fist, trying to control it, but the power felt alive. It wasn't just light. It was something ancient, something that remembered. The arena's plasma walls shimmered weakly. As if afraid of him, Saria whispered under her breath, her voice trembling. "The Phoenix mark. From the war of the first flame." The crowd gasped. Murmurs rippled like waves. "Impossible," said one valor noble. "That war ended before this species even left their homeworld." Trent took a step forward. He didn't understand what any of them were saying, but every instinct told him this wasn't normal. He could feel a memory, not his own, flashing through his mind. Burning skies, steel cities, ships falling like meteors. He saw humans standing beside alien allies long gone, and he felt the same heat from his arm, calling him toward something unseen. Saria raised her eyes slowly. "You should not exist," she said softly. "Humans are not supposed to carry that mark." Trent frowned. "I didn't ask for it," he said. "It was given to me after the war on Vega Prime. They said it was to stabilize my body after radiation." But even as he spoke, he knew that was a lie, or at least not the full truth. Saria lowered her blade completely. Her voice carried both fear and awe. That mark once belonged to a being who destroyed entire fleets of the Dominion. They said it was the wrath of the lost planet Earth. The word hung in the air like thunder. Even the crowd fell silent. To the Valar, Earth was a forbidden name, a world erased from their records, a myth told to children to warn them of arrogance. But here stood a man carrying its living symbol. Trent looked down at his arm again. The tattoo had stopped glowing, leaving behind a faint red shimmer. He felt weak, dizzy. But something deep inside was awakening. He remembered the laboratory where he had been treated after Vega Prime, the doctors whispering about biogenic resonance, about Project Phoenix. He had ignored it back then. Just another Terran experiment. Now he wasn't so sure. The announcer's voice broke through the silence. "The duel continues," he barked, his voice uneasy. "The Valor Dominion will not end this trial for superstition." Plasma walls rose higher, and drones hovered closer, recording every movement. Saria turned toward the viewing tower. "Cancel the duel," she demanded, but her words were ignored. The council wanted to see what the human would do next. Trent clenched his jaw. He could feel the mark beneath his skin. Like a second heartbeat, energy hummed in his veins, whispering commands he couldn't understand. He wanted to walk away, to stop this madness, but when he saw Saria's eyes, something inside told him he couldn't. She took a deep breath, her blade reigniting. "I have to fight," she said softly. "If I refuse, they will execute us both." Trent nodded. "Then we fight," he said quietly. "But I don't think it's me you should fear." They moved again. Blades flashing through light and dust, Saria's sword sparked against his armor. Plasma flaring, Trent countered with bare hands. Every motion faster than thought. When her blade sliced near his mark, the energy burst outward again, forming a brief shield of crimson fire. The crowd roared, half in awe, half in terror. Trent's movements were not his own. It was as if someone else guided him. He felt a cold voice in the back of his mind whisper, "Do not let them touch the seal." Saria staggered back, her armor scorched from the last blast. She dropped to one knee, gasping for air. The mark on Trent's arm dimmed again, its glow fading like a dying ember. He stared at it in confusion and fear. "What is happening to me?" he whispered. Saria looked up, eyes full of understanding. "It is waking up," she said. "The phoenix was never a symbol. It was a weapon, one your ancestors sealed away." The crowd began shouting, calling for blood, for victory, for answers. Guards lined the arena, weapons raised in case the human lost control. But something strange was happening. Every screen, every drone feed in the stadium flickered to static. Then one symbol appeared, the same mark as on Trent's arm. Glowing bright red, ancient text scrolled beneath it. Unreadable to the aliens, but clear to him. Terran Directive Alpha. The flame shall rise again. The ground shook. Distant sirens blared across the city. The power grid of Virella 9 began to fail one sector at a time. Trent looked around in horror. "I didn't do this," he said, his voice shaking. But Saria already knew. "It doesn't matter," she said. "Your world has already begun to speak." The announcer tried to call for evacuation, but his voice was drowned out by the low hum filling the air. Above the arena, clouds swirled unnaturally, red lightning flashing between them. For the first time, fear replaced arrogance in the Valor's eyes. Trent looked at his glowing arm. The mark pulsed again. He could hear faint whispers in his head. Countless voices, human voices, all speaking the same word. "Remember." Saria rose slowly, her sword now pointed down. Her expression was no longer one of pride or anger. It was sorrow. "You are not our enemy," she said quietly. "You are the warning we ignored." The light from the mark spread across the ground, forming a circular pattern of symbols no one could read. Trent felt the world tilt, his body heavy, his mind fading. Before he collapsed, he heard Saria's voice through the noise. "Find the truth of Earth," she whispered, "or this galaxy will burn again." The crowd screamed as the red light swallowed the arena. And when the light faded, the human and the Valor warrior were both gone. Only a scorched symbol remained on the sand, the mark of Earth, glowing faintly, waiting to be seen again. When Trent opened his eyes, there was no arena, no crowd, no heat, only silence. He was lying on a surface that looked like glass, glowing faintly beneath him. The sky above was black, but filled with swirling patterns of red and gold light. He sat up slowly, pain pulsing through his arm where the mark still burned softly. Across from him stood Saria, alive but shaken. Her armor cracked, her hair loose. She looked around in disbelief. "This isn't Varela 9, she said quietly. Trent nodded. "Then where are we?" he asked. She didn't answer right away. Her eyes scanned the horizon, endless plains of glowing metal and broken towers stretching into the void. "This is memory space," she whispered. "A place between moments, created by your mark." Trent frowned. "You mean we're inside my head?" "Not just yours," she said. "Inside the memory of the Phoenix." As she spoke, the world around them began to shift. The broken towers lit up, showing flashes of old wars, starships burning, fleets clashing, cities falling under waves of red light. Trent saw humans in ancient armor, fighting beside aliens he didn't recognize. The sound of thunder filled the air as the vision changed to a planet covered in fire. He could feel it, not just see it. The screams, the loss, the fury. "What is this?" he whispered. Saria turned to him, her eyes wet. "This is the truth your world buried," she said. "Once, humans stood at the center of the stars, and the dominion you see now was born from their ashes." Trent's breath caught. He watched as the images showed humans launching vast ships into the void. Each vessel carried the same symbol glowing on his arm, the Phoenix mark. "They called it the Terran Rebirth Fleet," she continued. "They fought the Dominion's ancestors, who wanted to erase all other species. But in the end, your kind vanished, sealing their power to prevent another war." Trent looked down at his arm. The mark pulsed again, and for a moment he heard faint voices, thousands of human whispers echoing through time. "They sealed themselves," he said softly, "to protect the galaxy." Saria nodded. "But the seal was broken when your people experimented on Vega Prime." The memory world trembled. A new image appeared. Scientists in Terran uniforms working inside a lab, injecting energy cores into soldiers. He saw himself, younger, strapped to a table, unaware of what was being done. "You were part of Project Phoenix," Saria said. "They didn't just heal you, Trent. They awakened what your species locked away." He took a step back, his heart pounding. "So this mark isn't mine. It is now," she said. "Because it chose you." The glass ground cracked, light spilling through it like molten lava. The memory world started to collapse. Saria reached for him. "We have to leave now." Trent shook his head. "Not yet. I need answers." From the rising light below, a shape began to emerge, a massive figure, made of flame and armor, its eyes glowing like dying stars. It spoke in a deep, resonant voice that filled the air. "Human of the new age, why have you awakened me?" Trent froze. The voice wasn't in the air. It was inside his skull, shaking his thoughts. "I didn't," he said quietly. "I didn't mean to." The figure raised its head, the fire around it flickering with sadness. "The Phoenix does not wake by accident," it said. "The war is not over." Saria took a step forward, bowing her head. "Great Flame," she said, "if this is truly the Phoenix, then tell us, what is its purpose?" The figure turned its gaze toward her. "To remind them," it said, "that peace built on lies cannot last." Trent felt the world spin, his body trembling from the energy. He saw flashes, Varela 9 under attack, fleets gathering in orbit. A new power rising among the Dominion, something darker than before. "The seal of Terra has cracked," the Phoenix said, "and those who ended your world will rise again." Saria looked horrified. "The High Council," she whispered. "They've been preparing for war. Trent gritted his teeth. "I won't let it happen," he said. "Not again?" The phoenix extended a burning hand toward him. "Then remember this truth," it said. "You are not the first flame. But you may be the last." The fire reached out. Touching Trent's chest, he screamed as his entire body lit with energy, the mark spreading across his skin like living light. Saria tried to pull him away, but the heat was unbearable. The phoenix's voice echoed through the void. "When you awaken, the world will know what you are." The light swallowed everything. When Trent opened his eyes again, he was back in the arena. The crowd was gone, replaced by silence and ash. Saria lay beside him, unconscious but alive. He looked at his hands. The tattoo was no longer a mark. It had become part of him, glowing faintly through his veins. He rose slowly, looking toward the ruined sky. In the distance, ships burned in the upper atmosphere. Valor fleets fighting something unseen. The sound of thunder rolled across the horizon. Trent's voice came out low and cold. "If they want the past," he said, "then they'll get it." He lifted Saria in his arms and walked toward the broken gate, each step leaving faint red footprints on the sand. Above him, the clouds twisted into the shape of wings. The phoenix was awake again, and the war for truth had just begun. The storm over Varela 9 had not ended. Red lightning split the clouds, and the air trembled with energy. Trent walked through the ruined arena carrying Saria in his arms. Ash fell like snow, and every step he took left a faint trail of red light in the sand. He placed her down near a shattered wall. The once glorious banners of the Valor Dominion were now torn and burning. Trent looked up at the sky, watching strange ships fight above the city. He didn't know if they were Valor fleets or something worse. All he knew was that the phoenix inside him was awake. And it wasn't done yet. Saria groaned softly, opening her eyes. Her armor flickered weakly, energy systems barely alive. She looked at him, her voice hoarse. "Are we alive?" she asked. "Barely," Trent replied. "But I think the world just changed." Saria sat up slowly, pain flashing across her face. She stared at his arm. The tattoo was no longer just a mark. It pulsed faintly like a heartbeat, glowing through his veins. "That power," she whispered. "It's not supposed to exist anymore." Trent gave a faint smile. "Tell that to my skin." A distant explosion echoed from the city, shaking the ground beneath them. Saria turned toward the sound, her expression hardening. "The council," she said. "They'll blame you for this." Trent nodded. "Let them. Maybe they're right." He looked down at his hands, remembering the phoenix's words. "You are not the first flame, but you may be the last." It echoed in his mind like thunder. He closed his eyes, and suddenly, the world around him shifted. He saw flashes of light, visions racing through his thoughts. Cities burning, oceans boiling, humans and Valor once standing together, then turning against each other. The phoenix mark glowed brighter as memories not his own filled his head. He fell to his knees, clutching his arm, gasping for air. Saria rushed to him, holding his shoulders. "What's happening?" she shouted. "I'm remembering," he whispered, his voice shaking. He saw the truth. Earth was not destroyed by accident. It was silenced, locked away by the same council that now ruled the stars. Long ago, humans had created the Phoenix Core, a weapon that could rewrite matter itself. When the Valor rebelled, fearing human power, both sides unleashed destruction so terrible that entire systems vanished. The Phoenix was sealed, and Earth was hidden from all maps. But someone, somewhere had broken that seal. Trent's heartbeat grew louder. Echoing in his skull, the mark blazed like molten fire. Spreading across his chest and back, he felt every nerve burn with power. "I can feel them," he gasped. "Voices, millions of them." Saria looked at him in horror and awe. "The memories of your ancestors," she said softly. Every soul that carried the flame, the sky above turned blood red. A great shadow moved across the horizon, a Valor dreadnought descending toward the arena ruins. Its cannons charged, aiming straight at them. Saria stood, pulling Trent to his feet. "They're coming to erase us," she said. "We have to move." Trent shook his head. "Running won't help." "Not anymore." The mark on his arm shimmered, and a circle of light formed beneath his feet. Symbols of old Earth, circles, wings, and flame carved themselves into the ground. Saria stepped back, shielding her face from the glare. "What are you doing?" she cried. Trent's eyes glowed faint red. His voice deeper, almost echoing. "Not me," he said. "Them." The air around him twisted as holographic shapes appeared, transparent figures made of light. Human warriors, scientists, and children, ghosts of the past standing beside him. Their whispers filled the wind. We were forgotten, but not gone. Saria watched in stunned silence. She could feel warmth instead of fear. For the first time, she understood. This wasn't just power. It was memory made alive. Trent raised his hand, and the holographic figures merged into a beam of light that shot upward, striking the dreadnought above. The blast didn't destroy it, but it sent shockwaves across the clouds. The ship faltered, its lights flickering, weapons failing. The ground quaked again as the arena's core split open, revealing a massive metallic structure buried beneath. Saria stared in disbelief. "That's impossible," she whispered. Trent looked down into the opening. It wasn't a structure. It was a ship. An ancient Terran battleship sealed under the planet's surface. "The Phoenix's cradle," Saria said, trembling. "You've awakened it." Trent stepped closer to the edge, his voice low. "I didn't wake it," he said. "It called me." The ship's hull pulsed faintly in response, red veins of light running along its surface like blood. A deep hum filled the air, alive, aware, waiting. The phoenix inside him spoke again. "The memory has awakened. Now the fire must rise." Saria turned to him, fear and hope battling in her eyes. "If that ship launches, the Dominion will see it as a declaration of war." Trent met her gaze calmly. "Maybe that's what it takes to show them the truth." In the distance, Valor dropships began to descend. The soldiers of the Dominion would arrive within minutes. Trent looked at the buried warship, then at the mark glowing on his hand. He placed his palm against the metal surface. The entire planet seemed to hold its breath. A voice filled the air, ancient and mechanical. "Terran signature verified," it said. "Phoenix Vanguard awakening." Saria stepped back, whispering, "What have you done?" Trent looked over his shoulder with a faint smile. "I remembered who we were." The ground erupted in a storm of fire and wind as the ancient ship began to rise. Its wings unfolded from the dust like a creature reborn. The sky split with red light, and the symbol of Earth, the flaming phoenix, shone across the heavens once more. As the ship lifted into the air, Saria covered her face from the heat. Trent's voice echoed across the cones of the Dominion fleet. "This is Captain Trent Hayes of Terra," he said. "To all who hear this, the memory of Earth is alive, and it remembers everything." The ship roared like thunder, and for the first time in 1,000 years, the fire of humanity burned again among the stars. The night sky of Varela was burning red. Flames rose from the city as the ancient ship, the Phoenix Vanguard, climbed from the earth. Its hull shone like molten silver, the mark of Earth glowing bright across its wings. Every alien eye on the planet turned upward, watching history awaken. Trent stood at the heart of the command deck, surrounded by faint holograms of old Terran officers. Their voices merged with the hum of the engines. Saria stood beside him, silent, still in awe. The air trembled as the ship's systems came online one by one. Core reactors active, a voice said. Life support restored. Trent gripped the console, his mark pulsing in rhythm with the ship. It felt alive, and somehow it knew him outside. Valor dreadnoughts formed a blockade across the sky. Their speakers echoed through the clouds. Human vessel. Stand down, the Dominion commander ordered. Deactivate your engines and surrender immediately. Trent smiled faintly. They always say that, he muttered. Saria looked at him, worry in her eyes. If you fire, they'll see this as war. Trent shook his head. I won't start it, he said. But I'll finish it if they do. He raised his hand to the control sphere. A pulse of red light spread through the ship, and the old Terran systems obeyed. Thousands of years ago, this vessel had fought beside fleets that shaped the stars. Now it answered to one man, the last soldier of Earth. The first volley came fast. Blue plasma bolts rained down from the Dominion ships, striking the Phoenix's hull, but instead of damage, the energy absorbed into the ship's skin. Saria gasped. It's feeding on their fire, Trent nodded slowly. Old human tech. We built it to adapt. He pressed his palm against the glowing console. The ship responded instantly, wings expanding, energy surging, massive cannons unfolded from its sides. Surrounded by fiery halos, the hum deepened, and the symbol on Trent's chest blazed like a sun. Let them see what Earth was, he said softly. The Phoenix fired. A wave of red light tore through the clouds. Not as destruction, but as energy. The Dominion ships were thrown back. Disabled, their engines fried, but none were destroyed. Trent had aimed not to kill, but to warn. Communication screens flickered across the bridge. A dozen alien faces appeared. Commanders, soldiers, politicians, all shouting. Trent looked at them calmly. This is Captain Trent Hayes of Terra, he said, his voice steady and echoing. For 1,000 years, you buried our name. You called Earth a myth. You erased our history. But humanity does not vanish. It sleeps, it remembers. And it rises. Saria stared at him in silence. Her eyes glistening. He wasn't just a soldier now. He was a voice, a living memory of what the galaxy had forgotten. The Phoenix's scanners lit up, showing fleets approaching from distant systems. More Valor warships, preparing for battle. Saria turned to him. They won't stop. Not after this, Trent nodded. I know, he said. But now they'll remember who they're fighting. He placed his hand on her shoulder. You don't have to stay, he said softly. Saria shook her head. I've seen the truth. And I can't go back. The ship's AI spoke again. Long-range signal detected. Trent frowned. What kind of signal? The holographic display shifted, showing an old Terran code. Repeating endlessly. Location, Sol system, the AI said. Trent's breath caught. Earth, he whispered. It's still there. Saria stepped closer. If that's true, then everything we've been told is a lie. Trent smiled faintly, his eyes reflecting the red glow of the bridge. Then it's time to wake up the rest of humanity. He turned toward the main console. Set course for Sol, he commanded. The Phoenix's engines roared. Ancient systems aligning for the first time in centuries. Through the storm, the ship ascended higher, breaking through the atmosphere. Below them, the world of Varela 9 burned under its own chaos, a symbol of what fear and lies had created. The Dominion fleets followed, but Trent's voice came through their combs once more. Stand down, he said. This fire isn't yours to fight. The Phoenix Vanguard vanished into hyperspace, leaving behind trails of red light. A new legend was born that day, the return of the flame of Terra. Far beyond the stars, in the quiet of deep space, Trent finally sat down. His reflection shimmered in the glass. Showing the faint wings of energy on his back, he spoke softly to the silence. "I don't know what waits on Earth," he said, "but whatever it is, it's time we remember." Saria stood behind him, gazing out the window. The stars stretched like rivers of light. She smiled. "Maybe that's what humans were always meant to do," she said. "Rise again." The Phoenix ship glowed brighter as it entered the warp gate. Its engines sang a note that echoed across the void, to every species, every world. It carried the same message. Earth was not dead, only waiting, and as the gate closed behind them, the stars themselves seemed to whisper one final truth. The Phoenix had risen, and humanity had come home.